Gallagher Fenwick, who's standing by for us now. Gallagher, you've been travelling around Israel in the past day or so, near areas that have been targeted by rocket fire. We've also heard about this intercommunal violence within Israel. What's the atmosphere like where you are this Monday afternoon?
You're really quiet, Nadia. People are very much in a situation where they're very wary of each other. You know, identity and fault lines are a big deal out here in the Holy Land. Always have been between Palestinians and Israelis, between Jews, Muslims and Christians. And this question is very much at the forefront. As you mentioned, I have just been traveling quite a bit, notably between Jerusalem and Ben Gurion, which is the main airport in Tel Aviv. I had to go there for administrative reasons in order to get a blood work, and I overheard when I asked for a taxi to be called in order to ferry me back to Jerusalem, the driver specifically asked if I was an Arab, and when I mentioned the fact that I was not, but that I wanted to go to Jerusalem, the driver was reluctant at first because the situation here in Jerusalem is particularly tense. The streets are very quiet, albeit it is a Jewish holiday. These streets are usually bustling with activity, people making last-minute purchases, or at least enjoying this glorious sunshine. But it is quite the opposite, as we have seen attacks in Jerusalem over the past 24 hours perpetrated on one side by Jewish extremist settlers reportedly using their weapons to fire at Palestinians, and a Palestinian driver as well accused of having intentionally rammed his vehicle into Israeli police officers not too far from where I'm standing. So very strong police presence, very few people out in the streets who are systematically trying to figure out who everyone else is around them in order to, basically monitor their surroundings, and a very heavy police presence, Israeli police presence all around.
Gallagher, so that is the situation where you are in Jerusalem. What can you tell us, meanwhile, though, about what's been happening in the Gaza Strip? I mentioned those intense airstrikes that took place overnight. Do we know what the situation is there today?
Yes, absolutely. I just spoke to a source in Gaza that described an eerie atmosphere out there as well after a night of intense Israeli air raids that left very little respite for people to basically rest. So a lot of residents in the Strip were actually sleeping during the day, simply because they were not able to do so overnight, confronted to the incessant bombs raining down on the Gaza Strip in response to the incessant rocket fire coming from the enclave and headed to Israeli cities in the southern parts of Israel. A lot of key infrastructure has been hit, and the Israeli army also stated a little bit earlier that they had operated a targeted assassination against a leader of the Islamic Jihad, which is one of the main armed factions operating in the Strip. That has actually been confirmed at this point by the Islamic Jihad. So a lot of tension out there as well. The casualties are extremely high, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, that puts the toll at around 200 Palestinian, about a quarter of those children killed in the Gaza Strip since this new round of violence began about a week ago, and about 10 dead as well, 10 dead according to Israeli authorities on the Israeli side, and hundreds wounded on both sides of this new round of violence.
All right, Gallagher Fenwick, thank you very much for your reporting there from Jerusalem. We'll be checking in with Gallagher